News Corp Europe correspondent and Sky News contributor Sophie Elsworth was lucky enough to be there, and she joins us now live from Rome. Give us your thoughts, Sophie, first up about being at that event. It must have been something special with that sort of a crowd there.
Look, Chris, it's been incredible. It's been an incredible few weeks and months to be in here in Rome. Look at the magnificent weather, the beautiful sights behind us, but to have history in the making, the election of the 267th Pope, Pope Leo, to be here when the white smoke erupted from the Sistine Chapel, and then to be here again for the inauguration yesterday. St Peter's Square was absolutely jam-packed. We saw the Prime Minister there with his Akubra hat on. This is a really important moment for him because it's obviously his first international trip since his re-election. So a very special moment, history in the making. And it was wonderful to see Pope Leo driving through the streets on the Pope-mobile and, just being a few metres away from us all, Chris.
Yeah, and it was good for Anthony Albanese to meet him face to face. Good on him. There's a bit of criticism around the place saying, how religious is he? Well, that's his business. We know he was raised a Catholic, and I know the feeling. I got to meet John Paul II, and the first thing I thought of at the time was my own parents and grandparents and how they would think of that moment. And this is what Anthony Albanese said. He thought of his own mother, how proud she would be knowing that he got to meet the Pope.
Well, absolutely, Chris, and I don't think we should be critical of him in that regard. I mean, this was a special moment for him, and he did speak fondly of how his mother would be very proud of seeing her son, in St Peter's Square, inside the Basilica, meeting the Pope. So this was a special moment for him, and obviously a really important moment given the fact that he's just been re-elected. And then, as we know, Chris, he had a series of bilateral meetings here in Rome, so it's been a jam-packed itinerary for the Prime Minister.
Yeah, that is one of the great benefits of going to an event like this, is the other world leaders you get to see, however briefly, on the sidelines. But he actually had quite a substantive meeting with the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Tell us about that one.
He did indeed, Chris. They met yesterday following the inauguration, and they had quite a good discussion. And the Prime Minister did say to Zelensky that tanks are now on the way to help the war-torn country in their fight that's continuing against Russia. They also spoke briefly about Oscar Jenkins, the Melbourne man who's been sentenced to 13 years imprisonment over in the war-torn region. And they discussed many other issues. And Mr. Zelensky congratulated the Prime Minister on his re-election, and also Australia for its ongoing support with its fight against Russia in the ongoing battle there.
Yeah, Australia's support's been pretty good. Those tanks, though, are taking a long time to get there. The other thing that Anthony Albanese has said back before the election, he said that Australia might partake in any coalition of the willing, supporting Ukraine, holding the peace in Ukraine if one can be negotiated. And he seems to have repeated that promise to Volodymyr Zelensky. Here's the Prime Minister.
We would consider being involved in a coalition of the willing. Yeah. Until then, we'll continue to provide support. We have, as you know, we have tanks that are on their way.
Yeah, there's no detail on that. Of course, there's got to be a peace first, Sophie, but I imagine we might see that one scaled back a bit. Rather than troops or boots on the ground, we might see military planners or medical teams or some such, if it ever gets to that.
Well, time will tell, Chris. There's more than 30 countries a part of the coalition of the willing. Zelensky did tweet after they had their meeting and mentioned that this was one of the key things that they did discuss. It seems like it was quite, a positive meeting between the pair, and definitely a very important one for the Prime Minister to be able to, have this time with the Ukrainian president. Everyone is trying to meet with him around the world. We've seen all the world leaders, Keir Starmer. We've seen, obviously, JD Vance meet with him, the Donald Trump over recent months. So this was a really important meeting for the Australian Prime Minister.
Sure was. Thanks for being there for us, Sophie. I appreciate it. Sophie Elsworth there, live from the wonderful city of Rome, right outside the Colosseum there.